So I almost brick walled my tank. I
Oh
was so
God.
close,
I would have been,
and I would have it would have been devastating if I
AK, I would have been so sick. I would have been devastated. What's going on, Axie fam? Elijah here, back with another video, and today I'm bringing you some really exciting results from a recent tournament I was lucky enough to play in. So big shout out to Chief, who invited me to play in the Ultimate Trainer. Now this was a tournament where two of the best in the game, that's AK and Indes, got to choose some up and coming players, and they got to rotate on picks until they each formed a team. And I ended up getting picked up by AK, and this was a pretty interesting format. So it was King of the Hill and a best of 3 sets. Essentially what happened is each team would choose their lineup, and then the first player that each team chose, they would face off. And if you won, you just got to keep playing until you eliminated all three of the opposing team's players. If you lost, then the next person in your team would be up to play, and you basically won a set by eliminating the other team before they eliminate you. So I want to review a few games. The first set we ended up losing, so I'm going to move right along into the second set, which we were down, I think, 0-2. Like, we had lost, both me and my teammate had lost, and it came down to AK needing to win 3 straight games, which he did, which was completely epic. So he beat Wolf of Dam 1-3 team, and then he had to face Indes and knock him out for us to go to a third and final round. But before we jump into that, I just want to briefly point out that I am selling some Axies. Up until this point, I hadn't really listed anything, but I had looked through my inventory and decided to sell off some of what I own. So there'll be a link in the description. You can go and browse it. With pricing, I just try to put it all relative to like the market, what the floor is. I start a little higher than the floor, and then it trickles down to it as far as the bidding. One of my favorites that I'm letting go of is this beast that I actually made a video on. The only reason I'm selling it is because my guild actually has an identical build that I can play with. So I no longer really need to hold this. So yeah, maybe check out that video if you're interested. It's up for sale. And then I have a bunch of other stuff too. Small disclaimer, buying Axies doesn't mean you're immediately going to be great at the game. It takes a lot of work and study, so it's not like you have an easy pass just because you purchase something, so keep that in mind before you invest any money. Okay, so we're actually going to come back to commentating with AK at the end of this video for the very final match. But right now, after AK beat Indes, we are in round 3 of the tournament. So Indes' team won the first, we won the second, now we're in the third, and our other team member lost the first game, so now I'm up, and then AK is up after me. So at this point, all 3 of their team members are still alive, and we're a bit behind here. And let's see how this one goes down. We both draw double serious, which is pretty funny, and we're gonna have, I'm gonna have a quite a huge advantage here given the fact that I go last. So that's something to keep in mind with plants, is that you want to find ones that actually aren't older in the game. You want your plant to go last. So as opposed to other Axies like birds where you want a low ID, so you go first, with plants it's the opposite. So newer plants are actually worth more and more valuable to acquire than older ones. Round 3, it looked like we both passed in round 2. Now we had an energy advantage here. We had 6 going into round 3. He had 4. He makes no moves whatsoever, but we go with the Tri-Spikes combo. I'm kind of hoping at this point, obviously that he throws up something on his frontliner. Now, Wolf of Dam, I did know that he generally just goes with this team. And in this tournament, he was pretty much just playing this, so I went with a combo that I thought would be good, which is double reptile, kind of a hard counter to it. So that was my game plan. And then here in round 3, he doesn't play anything on his tank, but we do get the critical, and we go ahead and put him into last stand. So that's massive at this point. Round 4, he goes for his Tri-Spikes combo. I obviously am aware that he's, likely going to do this, so I don't want to play any cards on my tank, which would cause his Aqua to hop over and attack one of my reptiles. I need both of these guys to be in really good shape for the late game. So he's going to go ahead, and I believe this will kill off my plant once he follows up here with his backliner. So he gains an energy. Both plants are gone. We do have the advantage still. 6 energy in round 5. He has 4. Okay, so now I'm pretty much interested in eliminating this midliner and being happy 1v1ing the backliner. So in other words, you'll notice I don't play the Tri-Spikes combo because there's ways he can kind of take advantage of that. Like if I play Tri-Spikes and he plays both of these cards on his midliner. That'll give him 80 shield. And then if he just played one sticky goo on his backliner, yeah, his backliner is going to take a bunch of damage, but now it's kind of screwed up my whole plan, which is to kill off one of his Axies for sure right now. All that being said, he's kind of in a tough position no matter what he does, but I go through the front. I feel like it's pretty much GG for me if I can take out the midliner, because this reptile versus his backliner is just going to be so sweet. I have Kestrel, which is going to disable his horn cards, and in this case, his only real big source of damage is Prickly, which, you know, if we disable that, he doesn't really have very many threats. So here we go. We are going to gain an energy with Guitaro. We're going to kill that midliner. And at this point, it is extremely difficult for him to do anything. And we just keep critting. We keep smashing. We got off one of those Kestrels. So next round, he won't even be able to play Prickly. And he still doesn't kill our Reptile. So yeah, we had some good crits this game. I unleashed the everything here. I don't even care if I get stunned. I'm just going to go for the kill, and we get it done. So at this point, as far as tournaments go, I know it's crunch time. I know I got to step up here and make sure that I deliver. And so we take out Wolf of Dam, and that leaves us with 1 in 3 team and Indes that we have to beat. All right, so next in line is 1 in team 3. Sorry, I was saying his name kind of backwards, but it's a little bit of a confusing one. But anyway, he's running a beast and a bird, which I totally expected to be seeing from him. This is kind of his go-to team. He is the backdoor here, even with the egg bomb blackmail transfer to just guarantee backdoor kills on certain Axies, because the beast will follow it up. And I decided to pull out what I think is probably my A team here. I got 8th place last season with this combo, and it's the one-of-a-kind Aqua here with Perch, Babylonia, and Piranha. The only difference between this and the team I got 8th place with is I sort of modified the backliner bird to be able to do the transfer as well here with Egg Bomb Blackmail. I go back and forth between this and the one I have with Kestrel, but they both have all-out shot because, let's be honest, it's overpowered. We're gonna have probably a quick hitting game here given these two builds. The beast comes out swinging very heavily here with Ronin and a Nut Throw. Gonna almost kill our tank. We do get the energy back from the carrot, which is nice. We don't get a steal, but we get some use out of our tank, which is always huge. One thing to note, he doesn't have Ivory, which generates the energy when played with Ronin. So if you were to run a beast like this, that seems completely fine to use Ronin ASAP. But normally if you have the Ivory, you want to wait for that so that you gain the energy from playing that card. So that's just something to be aware of. Round 2, with my 3 energy, I get a really nice draw with the Perch, Babylonia, and Piranha. The idea here is that, especially because he has Watering Can, is, you know, if he plays something on the tank, I will be prioritizing whatever target is idle. So if he plays something on his tank, this will snipe the beast. If he plays something on the tank and the beast, it'll snipe the bird if he leaves that hanging and doesn't use a card on it. So I'm kind of happy with this going wherever it goes. And even if that means just killing his tank, that's huge to get rid of that as well. So pretty clear play for me this round. We do get rid of the tank. Ours goes down too. So it's gonna, at this point, kind of come down to who gets the bird draw, and looks like that's us. So this was really the defining moment, as it can be sometimes with bird beast matchups. So grateful that, you know, we drew the egg bomb and have the all-out shot to finish the bird. So 2 egg bombs, that's not going to kill an unarmed bird. And that's why I almost prefer my other bird that has headshot, because that does 130 damage. So if I was to draw, you know, on that build, if I was to draw Cupid and headshot, that'd be 120 damage, 130 damage, and that's enough with Little Al to backdoor a bird. Obviously, it's enough with all-out shot as well, but it just gives you more options to do it quicker. But anyway, yeah, this is a good luck of a draw for us. We're super happy about it, and there we go. So yeah, I almost feel like because he was going first that round, he actually probably should have played this combination, knowing that I could very well have a backdoor combo myself to kill him. And if he does get these off, well, in fact, he actually would have killed my bird that round because I would have suicided by playing all-out shot. I'm not saying this is an easy 1v1 for him anyway with the beast versus the aqua. It's pretty unlikely he wins that one. But now with having both of these in my weaponry, it's just completely game over for him. So I think that would have been the play, but it's always easy to say that sort of thing in hindsight after you've seen the outcome. So nonetheless, we booked the win here, and now we're going up against Indes for the third game in a row by us, and we're just really happy to be staying alive here. Okay, so we're now up against Indes, the big bad wolf of Axie Infinity. We need to bring our A game here. One thing I'll say about my team selection here is that I had never used this team combination. I set this up exactly for playing against him because I knew that he'd been loving this reptile midliner and this bug with Gravelant in the back. He'd been using it in this tournament, using it in arena, and having a lot of success. So I didn't want to put my standard Perch Aqua in the middle because that just does terribly against his reptile. So I went with something that actually has a beast part, which does extra damage to reptiles and plants up front. I'm trying to be more effective in getting rid of those and getting to the back line. And then for my backline Axie, all of the bird cards are ranged aside from Little Owl, but that doesn't really matter. So that's going to do really nicely versus Bug for the damage bonus. And because, you know, one of his cards is Gravelant, which disables melee cards. I thought it would be a swift counter to him and at least give me a decent shot. And when you're playing against really good players in tournaments, sometimes you need the element of surprise to catch them off guard. Round 2 here, it looks like I go with Carrot and Prickly, and Indes is unleashing max damage. He uses all 5 of his energy, three damage cards from the reptile, and then with the bug in the back, he goes Parasite and Barb Strike. We do get off the damage with the tank up front, which is pretty huge, and we gain an energy. So now we have 6 energy. Indes has 2 because he spent all of his energy last round. I go with the reptile cards that I have. If he puts shield up on his tank, I'll start putting damage on his midliner, which is pretty huge. I'll also gain an energy because his reptile is faster than mine. And I'm happy, as I said, to have that beast damage card smacking into it. Now, I think it's kind of unlikely that Indes does that because he's very aware of Tri-Spikes and he doesn't want me to like wipe out one of his midline or backline Axies. So yeah, I'm equally happy with it going through the front and getting rid of his tank. I'm feeling kind of good about where I can go with this matchup in the late game. Now, we're in round 4 and looks like we each have 4 energy. Now for me, the goal here is kill the reptile because if I do that, I feel very confident in the 1v1. So I'm going to play pretty much everything I can that is going to do damage. Obviously not the tank cards because that's going to die, but I'm playing all 4 cards on the bird, playing even the Tri-Spikes lone single card on the reptile. And I obviously want to make sure I order my cards where I play Egg Bomb first and then Blackmail to transfer it off of my bird because I do not want my bird to get killed this round. And if I just play Egg Bomb without the transfer, then his Axies will target my bird because that's what happens when you use Aroma. It looks like we are going through the front. We get a critical, which is huge. Even without it though, he only had 50 shield, so we would have killed the reptile. And now in round 5, I'm just still going for the throat, going for the kill, play everything. I want to play Gecko because that's going to nullify damage I take. Obviously, just put more pain onto him. He goes for Gravel Ant the round before just to disable my reptile cards. Even though he's low health and he's a bug and I have a bird, he still has a very good shot here because the discards. If he can kind of screw up my draw here, and let's say he discards my bird cards, and next round I draw, you know, 1 Little Owl and 2 damage cards, that might not be enough if he puts up a shit ton of shield. So, you know, he's got 4 energy. He's got 2 energy, so he'll have 4 next round. He'll have options. Luckily, his discards go toward my reptile, not my bird. So I'm able to hold the 2 Little Owls, draw fresh damage cards on my bird. And I think that this is now just going to be too far out of reach for him because we've got 3 full damage. We put it on, we get rid of the bug, and we went on a 3-0 tear there, which I was super happy about. Now, unfortunately, we faced Indes again once they revived him. We lost that one, and it went into the final matchup between him and AK, which we're now going to segue into and bring AK back onto the call and see how this all plays out. So I have AK on call right now. Thanks for joining the Axie on the Moon channel.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, and if you guys aren't aware, it's similar to how I introduced Indes. This is one of the greats in the game. He's been around almost from the beginning.
Pretty close. I was a couple seasons before Indes.
Yep. Well, there you have it. At least a 2+ year resume of just dominating and breeding and playing at a very high level. So we're happy to have him on for the final game of the series. So I was able to beat all three of those guys and beat Indes once. Now in the third set, the way this format worked is that you got to revive one player in the third set if all three had already lost. So since we beat all three of theirs this set, they get to revive someone. Obviously they chose Indes, he's the GOAT. AK actually faced him and lost. And so we were now in the position of who do we revive to face Indes for the final match, where whoever wins this, it's over. And we were kind of back and forth between either me or AK, but it was a tough call because we both, we had pros and cons either way. Like AK had better depth within his team pool, and then I had a decent matchup versus Indes if he was to choose this exact team. But then if he was to counter my team, we might be in trouble. So we ended up going with AK. It also just seemed appropriate given the fact that the tournament was AK versus Indes. We had quite a blast picking out your team, didn't we?
Oh, we definitely did. We were sort of in a call together, going back and forth on what strategy can we use to sort of reliably counter this team and put us in a position to win. I kept saying I really want to use double aquas, and I really want to have these ranged moves. And
yeah, I remember you saying that and thinking, well, what double aqua do you have that can be ranged? Because we kind of predicted that if we chose AK, Indes was going to use the gravel ant bug in the back here, because up until this point in your own matches with Indes, you had kind of a hard time versus this team, like in arena or in scrimmages or whatever. So we look at his inventory, and he really didn't have many ranged aquas, right?
Yeah, I had bought this back aqua that I wound up using the day before, because I was just sort of thinking, it would be nice to have something around to sort of to counter some of these gravel ants, and maybe it would work against Indes. I'd never actually this is the first game I'd ever actually played with this Axie.
That's so epic.
And I'd never tested it. Sort of, wasn't quite sure how it would work.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. Sometimes this is what you have to do in tournaments. You just have to pull out the element of surprise. We went with this. I remember it felt a little risky, but we'll go ahead and see how this turned out. Round one. What are your thoughts, AK?
I was so thrilled because I wasn't sure that he was going to bring this team 100%, and so I was mostly just thrilled that he actually, he did bring it, and that I had the matchup I wanted.
So you went with straight damage out of the gate. Generally, you do like to play your double aqua build, I've noticed, quite quickly in terms of putting on pressure. So you go with the risky fish here and cactus and hot butt.
Yeah, I wanted to mostly make sure that if he did play poison in round one, that I didn't get it on my backliner. I think that's just a general sort of philosophy playing against poison. It's,
it is.
Really don't want it on your 1v1 Axie. On the others, okay, not great, but you'll deal.
You'll live with it.
Yeah.
And we know here that we've got a great matchup versus a bug. Aquas do a huge damage bonus to bugs. He actually also has a couple ranged cards, so the gravel ant kind of cancels itself out in terms of what they can do to each other with disabling cards. But again, that's a favorable matchup for us. We're looking to get there, basically. Round two, we're putting the pressure on still. Now, Indes, he gained energy in round one. He's passing round two. He doesn't even go for another poison and disguise, which is quite a bit of an interesting play.
I think he was expecting me to pass round two. I often am very aggressive early on in the match. But what that means is that sometimes I also choose to be very passive after, I go super aggressive early, and then I pass for a turn or two. And it's sort of, timing that rhythm often catches them off guard. And I think he was expecting me to be a little bit more passive here, whereas I drew well, and I was just going to keep smashing.
So here we
used
go.
to call me AK Smash for a reason.
We get through the tank. Both players pass in round 3, I believe. So now Indes is doing a classic Indes, going super passive and stacking up 8 energy, which is always, he is very good at doing this and then making appropriate moves in the mid game. We, on the other hand, are down to 4, but again, we have all 3 of our Axies. Thoughts here?
Yeah. Well, Indes with 8 energy is a terrifying thing, no matter.
That's true.
Like, I fully expected him to pass in round 3. And, here I wasn't sure whether he would shield his reptile or not. But he, in this spot here, his bigger sort of risk is actually running out of cards. Because he can only build up so much across these 2 axes. So I thought this turn he was more likely to try to kill my tank using his bug cards, where he has a class advantage, and try to save, for a big reptile attack and force me to sacrifice one of my aquas the following.
I'm sure he's aware that you only have 4 energy here, so he's probably thinking you might not go crazy with your aquas and do a bunch of reptile shield as well. But it is quite a chess match here. Looks like he does go with the bug smash here play, because it just makes sense, as AK pointed out. We go and unleash our cards, which also I think equally makes sense given the circumstances, and we're going to gain an energy back as well. So that's nice. Also, it's great
that energy is huge, because
huge.
I don't have a 0 cost on my backliner. So, in order for Chomp to sort of work and function, I also need that.
It was also just a heads up play on your end, just not to pass here, because you realize that he's not going to risk playing all of his reptile cards into your plant, which I think 4 of his cards wouldn't kill it if you just passed, and then unleash like a bunch of bug cards onto an aqua. That play doesn't make any sense. So AK read the situation perfectly. He knows that the reptile probably isn't going to have a ton of shield on it. And here we go. We're getting him almost dead, which is about the best thing we could ask for here, because that's the major threat at this point. Bug will take out the plant. Now, the scary thing about discard bugs is that they're never out of the game, because they completely limit your options. Now, we still have some card selections here, but what a terrible draw getting the plant cards.
Well, he discarded all of my things that were not tank cards. If you saw it in round 4, all of the cards on the left side of my hand just disappeared, and I was like, "No, please, come on, take my plant cards. Like, you can have them."
Yeah, and it's funny here. We see a bit of something you don't see too often from Indes. We see a bit of desperation, in that he goes with the 4-card tri-spike combo, but it's actually not even desperation. It's pretty much necessity. It's both. It's necessity, because he has to this reptile has to survive. Like, it's not for damage. He knows AK isn't going to brick wall his plant here. He knows tri-spikes isn't probably not going to get onto one of these aquas, but he gets
so there's actually, so honestly, I almost brick walled my plant. I had the cards selected. I don't know if it shows in the replay. I had the cards selected to brick wall my plant. And the reason for that is that, it's very much a game of poker here. Where if I brick wall my plant, I'm going to probably be able to kill his reptile. That would be amazing. And also, he had discarded all the things that weren't plant cards.
What do you mean, like, kill his reptile?
Well, so I, if he's not going to play 4 reptile cards,
right,
what he might do is he might just pass, or play like something small from the bug, hoping that I just pass and sort of wait for him to, take out my plant. So I almost brick walled my tank. I was so close.
I would have been,
and it would have been devastating.
AK, I would have been so sick. I would have been devastated.
And so, I think he was counting a little bit on that, and a little bit on, maybe I do try to sort of attack with a few aqua cards, where, I might even attack with enough that my plant tank dies. Poison.
And that, wow, could you imagine if that happened? And then, if you like Nemo'd and used a few cards, plant dies, reptile attacks into one of these aquas and kills it. I mean, it's never over versus Indes, and I'm sure he knew that here. It's a bit of a Hail Mary play, but when you're this far behind, as he has himself said many times, you have to sort of do things like this. Okay, so now we are in round 6. Game plan here, kill the reptile, which is pretty cool when you have Chomp on your backline or Aqua, because you can chomp through the shield, which is what AK does here, and he is able to finish off the reptile regardless of how much shield he puts up. So we take down the reptile. We're in round 7. Look at our 2 Axies here. The game is like bugging out right now. Anyway, that's the mid liner. We're just going face here. I mean, the game is ours. We're going to be victorious. There's the shoal, and even though we don't fully kill him there, it's just going to be too little too late for Indes on this one. Next round, KO, boom, that's it. And we take down the tournament. I mean, what can I say? This was such a blast. It was so fun and so down to the wire, which I'm really grateful for, because we almost just got demolished. And Indes was talking trash, as he does beforehand. Oh, I'm going to show you. Tune in if you want to see how to sweep a team. He's going to sweep us and whatnot. And they almost did. But I would say clutch performances by you, and proud of I felt a little clutch there in set 3. Yeah. Yeah, man. It was it was awesome.
Yeah, it was a very fun tournament for sure.
Yeah. So we took down a little prize money there, and I'm sure that we'll have plenty more tournaments in the future. AK and I, whether we're on the same team or solo facing off or whatever, but it's really been nice for me coming into the game, getting these invites from the Axie GG team. A ton of respect, mutual respect there between us. And any closing thoughts, AK?
I was very happy. I was thrilled to have picked you, and the tournament was a lot of fun. Looking forward to facing off some more.
For sure.
And now I know exactly what I'm going to bring against all these bugs.
Yes, definitely. If you guys haven't already, give AK a follow at what's your Twitter?
VSAK, VESAK, Axie.
Awesome. All right, thanks for coming on the channel, AK. I'll see you in the next one.
Thanks for having me.
All right, well, I'm going to wrap the video up there. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I cover everything Axie Infinity related. Follow me on Twitter at AxieOnTheMoon. I hope you enjoyed this one. It's been fun having Indes and AK both on the channel and getting their insights into the game. I'm sure there'll be plenty more tournament content in the future, and yeah, that's it for now. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.